It is of course time to do our usual predictions for Duel Links characters coming in 2025. Now this year is going to be a little bit difficult to predict because we're already seeing Konami mess up with the scheduling, right? We know in January we've got a Soul Burner event coming in place of normal unlock if we are to believe Konami's wording in the event tab. That removes one established pattern for the past 6-7 years of getting a character unlock in January. Last year of course we saw skip months, double unlocks, we've got Rush Duel now to kind of contend with and kind of balance the formats in a way that doesn't over-favorite one over the other. And so it is kind of weird, right? Also, the big thing is September. There's no more animes left. We are getting this Chronicles thing coming, this short web series, but I don't think we'll get that in Duel Links as a brand new world, because it's fundamentally different from a normal Yu-Gi-Oh anime. It's just kind of its own thing, it's based on the card game, and so it doesn't really fit in with the whole premise of Duel Links being an anime game. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Now, last year, we had 15 character unlocks, 1 from 5Ds, 2 in Zexal, 4 in Arc 5, 1 in Reigns, 3 in Sevens, and 4 in the Brand New World Go Rush. Now, that is 1 down from 2023, but compared to years before that, it's actually up. I usually used to see around 12 characters on average per year, and so I think, given that Duel Links is going to be slowing down somewhat, there potentially is no Brand New World this year, we don't know what's happening with a brand new core anime. I'm going to be using 12 characters as a kind of a guideline, whilst also using the 2024 event schedule for KC Cups and Go Rush Festivals as a blueprint to kind of place characters around this year. Now, the one other thing is, in terms of major characters, there's a few left for Zexal. Reigns is his own kind of mixed bag. Arc 5 has maybe 1 or 2 in Zark and someone else, and then of course you have the Rush characters. And so, it does feel like we either slow down, or we get a bunch of filler characters that no one really wants and have no support going to Duel Links' 9th year on the market, which is kind of crazy, and leave the 10th year, 2026, to be this real big finale and have some of the bigger character shop there towards the end game. So, let's go on to January. Now, we know we're getting the whole anniversary campaign, Pot of Greed, Rainbow Neo, so we're getting a structure of heroes. Also kind of expecting a structure of Rush Duel being themed around Yumu's Red Boot Boost Dragon because of a skill for that, and so that's got to come somewhere. I imagine we're coming either on anniversary as well, or alongside Yo's event, or even happening shortly afterwards, so around that week. We know end of the month we're getting this Soul Burner Flame event thing that, according to Konami, is not an unlock. Now, could they be lying? Sure, it would be weird to go back on 7 years worth of traditions, right, of getting an unlock in January, but in terms of the Ignises, right, you think about Reigns, you've got Flame, Earth, Aqua, Lightning, Windy. Lightning, Windy, their decks don't exist. Aqua is kind of intertwined with Blue Maiden, and Earth is kind of standalone if you want to bring him. And so Flame makes sense to be this weird offshoot of a new event that we don't know what's going to happen with, right? Is it going to be a skin? Is it going to be a skill? Is it something different? Are they going to go down the route of having Ignises be available in Duel Links in this new way that is similar to major contents in the character unlock? And Konami have got to kind of balance how they market that and how they give gems out, make these releases feel really big in place of what really should have been there. Could this be a recurring Bowman event, right? So we've seen back in 2019 with Dark Dimensions World, we of course had the Agami Raid event happen 4 times, 2 for Yugi, 2 for Agami's unlocks, and so could it be the same thing happening again, where Bowman is like the overall event context, like Agami was? Okay, event 1 is Salad support, event 2 could be Blue Maiden support, right, getting Aqua as a similar thing for Blue Maiden, although I think they can kind of get away with doing that one a bit differently, but that could be a thing, and then okay, maybe getting Earth support, or going into, say, the Lightning Duel. I think, well, maybe Lightning as a character doesn't work because his deck is in the game, so we bring in more Revolver support with Borrowed Savage Dragon. That could also work out as well. It could be we get this like year-long recurring event, which would be really, really cool if done well, alongside a big Salamagreat mini box, right, that hopefully will be a good thing going into the February KC Cup, which we know is happening, basically, in the first week of February, as always. Which then goes into February, which means we drew a Rush character. Right, last year was Nail, this year probably is going to be Manabu or Maddox from Go Rush, which will be back-to-back fire content drops, which is not too shabby at all. And this is where things get a little bit weird, because if you count the days between the last unlock being Zwaijo and this one, it would be around 96 days, I believe it is, between the two, which is 3 months between unlocks, which is already not that great, right? But if it's not a speed unlock, then you count between Yuri and the next slot being in March, that's going to mean no speed character in 150 plus days in Duel Links. No new character, which is really, really baffling from a messaging perspective, and could make people think, oh my god, Duel Links is dying, end of service is coming, blah blah blah. That could be something that happens. I hope not. I hope there's some different plan. Maybe again the January event is going to be something different than we expect, and makes up for that deficit. But as it stands, if this happens to be a rush event in February, like we would kind of assume, given Go Rush Festival probably is in early March, that's going to be the reality we face, is that no new speed character in about 5 months, which is really, really bad. March, hopefully, will be a good speed character in terms of long-awaitedness, right? An actual awaited character, and I think it's going to be Vector from Zexal. We're kind of in the end game now for Zexal, there's not many characters left, and I think this year will be kind of getting towards that final Dawn 1000 boss, but not getting him. We'll get Vector, he'll come with the Umbral Horrors, which won't really do much. They could get a cool skill, but still I don't think they'll do anything realistically. It'll be all about the box coming alongside him, giving more support for Galaxy Eyes, Utopia, that kind of thing, which would lead into the April KC Cup, and I think Vector being a raid event just kind of makes sense, right? Then April is a really big month, because it is the start of the Chronicles anime, the short web anime they're doing that we don't know what's happening, right? Is it going to be one episode on Sky Striker, one Albaz, one everything else? Is it going to be multiple on Sky Striker, multiple on Albaz? How long are they? How is the voice acting? We don't know. But I think it's like safe to assume there'll be a campaign alongside it, right? For accessories or alternate arts, right, coming in an anniversary box, that could be a solid kind of plan to do in both games. And I think, finally, in April, it'll come Akira Zaizen in Duel Links Unlockable. Now, they could do something weird with the whole Soulburner Flame event in January, right, in that it could also be Akira themed, and Akira could be researching the Ignis, right, bringing them back, and we could get a joint event with Akira and with Blue Maiden coming. We could get that as well. That could happen. Last year, we saw Lulu and Rin happening, and their counterparts, right, Akira and Blue Maiden, are siblings. Anything could happen in Duel Links. Anything could happen, but I think it is finally time for Akira to be attainable. If he's skippable this entire year, that's going to be really baffling because of Reigns is still missing so many characters, right? They can't bring in really without substituting their decks, which is never a great thing that you want to do, right? But if they need to do it, then they've got to do it. Then May is the Road to Worlds campaign. Now, every year, usually, this has an unlock for the previous world, and so this year, going to hopefully be Sevens' time at a structure deck and an unlock. Now, I think Yuga structure deck is very simple, right? You give a new 7's Road Fusion, and you go from there. Auto 7's Road Magician, there's plenty of them. For Speed Duel, you get a Chimera structure deck, like Illusions, right? I said last year they might bring it in, because of course 25th anniversary, it does somewhat make sense to bring these in, and I think if you're going down the whole Yugi Boomer route, then having Chimera being a DM-focused deck type would be a really cool inclusion for that month, that campaign. But in terms of characters, I think we get Tiger, who is Luke's sister, from Sevens coming in, Musical Princesses. This is a character people want in the game. I believe there's also tag duel lines for her, so it is inevitable she'll eventually come in some form, but I think that this one makes sense. Rather than, say, Yuga Goha, which is one of the Goha siblings, I do think we'll get him eventually, later in the year, and we are seeing one of his cards available in one of January's events, and so it's really weird what they're doing with Duel Links, right? And how you can kind of infer things from, does this event card mean we're getting this character soon, or does it mean they're coming in 6 months, or never? We don't know. It'll be kind of confusing, right? If you've got a structure deck for Yuga Odo, and then next week is a character called Yuga Goha, I think people will be kind of confused about that. Why don't these cards work with these brand new skills and these characters? I think that's just like a kind of a way for them to go, you know what, we're not going to confuse people, let's rake in the money, give us a mini box and a structure deck and whatever, and go into June being the World Championship Qualifiers month. Now, this should be an Arc 5 unlock, right? Because we haven't seen one yet, and last year, of course, we had 4 of them. This year, I think it'll be 1. But I think it's going to be a relatively filler character, right? So, I think options-wise, you've got Yusho Sakaki, who is kind of integral for the plot of Arc 5, but in terms of dueling in the show, you never really saw him duel outside of like flashbacks, so it could be him. In terms of cards, right, nothing too exciting. You get the Sky Magician, and that's about it. It could be Tsukikage, the ninja guy. Plenty of ninja support to come in Duel Links. It is a filler character by design, and so that would also kind of fit. Or personally for me, would be the Tyler Sisters. Those are probably my favourite character from the kind of arc we're in terms of Duelist Road, in terms of Arc 5, and so I think that even Konami knows those ones are fan favourite characters. They got more support in the Earth Duelist pack, and so they could also be lined up for a character release, and I think that would go down really well as a lesser/filler character slot to give us a bit of a pause until we do get to Zark, because there's not really that many characters left in Arc 5 you can realistically bring in, at least the brand new characters. Then, into July, I think we're going back to Go Rush for our second Go Rush character of the year, this one being Rovin Kirishima. Now, I can see people thinking, okay, maybe we go and get Yuna Goha instead, which we could do, but in terms of Sevens, right, all of the characters I believe besides Mimi have been on the pack covers for Rush Duel sets, and Rovin is next after Zwaijo. This, of course, will bring Wind Cycles to the game, probably quick spells as well, given that is part of her deck's gimmick, And so I think that could be a pretty fun little unlock as our final rush unlock before Worlds happens, and I think they'll go and bring Worlds back into August. I don't think it worked well this year, being in September. I think it screwed things up majorly for the box schedule, character schedule, and so into August, I think, of course, start of the month will be Worlds, but then end of the month is a Vrains unlock, and this kind of needs to exist because we need a rerun happening in December, potentially for a Vrains level cap, right? This year, of course, we got the Arc 5 Duelist Road. Last year was Exil Cap with the Melito rerun. Year before was Duelist Road for Dark Dimensions with Dark Dimensions Cap, and so if you're seeing a pattern there, then it should be a rerun event happening with Vrains World, and so I think this will probably be Aqua/Blue Maiden coming. Now, again, this could change depending on what's happening with that Soulburner thing at the start of the year, right? It could be we get Aqua as a character via the same method, and it's a skin swap or something else happens. Given Blue Angel has all the voice lines for the Maritas already, but they give her new voice lines for the cards that are released afterwards after Vrains World release in Duel Links. Or it could be Blood Shepherd. Now this would be a character that doesn't have his cards in the game, and so it would be replaced with, say, Spirals or Mecha Phantom Beast, for example, are two choices they could go down. Personally, would prefer Blue Maiden because Maritas before the KC Cup in September would actually be really big, and I think that would be a potential meta-changing deck if it's done well enough. But also it could be a joint unlock if they do Worlds in September with, say, Blue Maiden Aqua and the Earth Ignis, right? That could be another thing, given that those two had some kind of pseudo-relationship thing-bobbing going on, or at least it was one-sided or whatever. As far as I remember, I think my thing of Vrains is just like, I don't know at this point, but that could also be a thing that happens. Again, last year was so different and no one could kind of predict what was happening, as this year makes things way harder. Then is September. This year, of course, we had 2 character unlocks, no new world, that was in October. This year, I think we're not getting a brand new world. I think it will just be a big campaign, we'll get a main box, we'll get potentially some more character unlocks right for current worlds, and they'll market it that way, right? Dream tickets, the whole shebang, right? As usual, we get all that, but no new world. And I think that's perfectly okay. This is the 9th year of Duel Links, and so eventually, it's going to slow down. I don't think you keep introducing worlds just because you have to. You can get the same experience by just releasing good content, and that's all we really need. Is they can market it however they want to, but they don't need a brand new world. And I don't think Chronicles is it, because again, it's going to be a short promotional anime. It's not going to be anything close to what we're getting with the normal DM, GX, Vrains, etc. They're not dueling, they're just fighting, right? You look at Albaz and Ecclesia trying to kill each other. Like, does that really make sense to go into a brand new world? And if you're calling it Chronicles World, but suddenly you've got, okay, Albaz and Ecclesia, and you've got Ray, and you've got Typhon all like talking to each other, that doesn't make any sense, right? Because that's not how the whole lore works in terms of Yu-Gi-Oh! It's a weird one, right? Now, could they go down and do a DM filler anime arc thing? Sure, they could do. Could they go and do OC structures, right? Given they were in Cross Duel with voice lines, they could do. We've now got archive skills, and so we don't need to get these generic characters that give us support for a deck type if archive skills exist. Just give us characters from an existing world, right? Give us some big heavy hitters, right? That could be kind of cool, right? Marek from DM World, finally coming after so long, would be massive. They could go down a big story expansion, right? Give a big event that kind of teases what is happening towards the end game with Zark, with Don 1000, with all these bosses that we haven't seen in Duel Links yet. Make something up, right? Just go wild with it, have fun. We might have a chance of getting rituals in Rush Duel. They don't really need a character to bring that in, right? In terms of the anime, we've seen Udius play a ritual, and they're not even out yet, right? They're not even going to be coming out in the OSG until April, and so 3 months from once a product's coming out, the first one, I believe, being a structure deck Full Magician of Black Chaos, which is a vanilla, and so that's going to be perfectly fine to slap into a box in September and say, you know what, here's an update for Rush Duel, have fun. You know, like, I think that we're at this point of Duel Links where we don't need a brand new world every year. That doesn't need to happen. The game needs to focus on just being a good game, and giving us new character support and giving us more speed content in that month is perfectly doable, right? But that's a bit rambly. I know this whole video is going to be a complete mess. Then in October, a major speed character coming to kind of cap off the Zexal world for this year, Nash. Now, you can make a point of Nash being a skin or a skill for Shark like the other Barians, but Nash is the most important one, right? He has his own support. He's got voice lines missing for cards he used in the show. And so I think it's very obvious that they will release him as his own character. Now, could they also give us a skill that transforms Shark as well? Sure, they could do it. I think giving both would be the best way of going about it, right? You could give a powered down skill to OG Shark and then give the full powered skill to Nash and have that be a nice little thing. You could also give Marin, which is going to be Rio's form, as a skill in this event as well. I think it makes sense for her to be a skill because she doesn't really duel aside from like one time in that form, but Nash has all the support and is super important to the show in his Baryon form that it makes sense to just release him in that way, and kind of like how we got 3 Jadens, right? I think this character makes sense the most to be a split unlock, and I kind of feel the same way with Blue Maiden, but to a lesser degree, but we'll see what happens, right? I think that having a big character in October before the KC Cup is just a no-brainer. Then for November, our final rush character for the year, going to be Yuga Goha, the antagonist of the second arc, I believe, of Sevens. I think this might be a bit too late. I think they could skip him entirely, right, and just end on Yuo and have that be our rep for the Goha siblings. I don't think we're getting all 5. I think that if another one comes, it could be Yuka, because she's a fan favorite character. I'm really unsure on the rush stuff. Want to do the rush characters, they could go all in and have them be the most character unlocks of the year. They could do that, but I don't think that's the correct way of going about it. I think that you kind of save that for next year, where we are going to be in the end game of actual main characters for the other worlds, right? Because I have basically set it up so that we've got Zexal ending next year, Reigns ending next year, Arc 5 ending next year. It's all kind of coming towards one ending point. Then for December, this is my wildcard pick. This one is because the last 2-3 years maybe, there's not been a GX character. And so I think they will finally give us one, but it's not going to be Atticus. And I think that was kind of obvious once we got Red MD in a double box, right? That's kind of the last slap in the face for Atticus fans wanting him in the game. It will probably be Yusuke Fujiwara. Now, this I also think is not going to happen. It is a wild card, but they did give him new cards in Animation Chronicle this year, and so I think the chances are kind of up there. He also is being featured in a lot of the GX artwork for the 20th anniversary celebration project stuff, like with all of the shop stuff and collab campaigns and whatnot, so I think there's a chance. Now, he doesn't have an English voice, but it doesn't matter, they can invent one, right? They can just bring one out of nowhere. But I think this would be really, really hype to kind of again go into next year, where they could bring Darkness and Nightshroud in, and again, have next year, 2026, the 10th year of Duel Links it would be this big climax year, and giving us Nightshroud, Zark, Dawn 1000, and then whichever rush characters you want to sprinkle in here and there, right? And that could be a really solid end to Duel Links, because I really think this year, I said last year, and I think this year it's going to happen, we will know by the end of the year what the sequel to Duel Links is, what the new game is to kind of transition people to, because they can't keep people on Duel Links forever, and they don't want to, right? Duel Links is slowing down a lot in terms of revenue, in terms of new players downloading the game. It is slowing down. We've seen that, and so eventually, and I'm not saying end of service, I'm not saying that at all, I'm saying that they will want to make sure that the main content of the game is done, and then you'll have the filler content, the stuff that people that are playing will care about, but most people will kind of move on to something else. And so I think by the end of the year, we'll know what that is. 2026, that will happen, and then Duel Links will continue on for however long it's feasible. But that's my predictions, probably going to be wrong. It's very rambly, I know. I'm going to try and cut it down to make some sense, probably won't do. Here is a graphic of my predictions overall for the year, asterisks on so many of the things, because depending on what happens in January, different things could shake out. What happens with the new world, with World Championships, could again shape things differently to last year. And so it is going to be a fun, interesting year to see what happens, how they balance things with Speedrun and Rush Duel. Anyway, let me know your thoughts down below, what you think is going to be happening in Duel Links in 2025 and beyond. I'm going to be wrong on some things, right? Looking back on this, I can see there is not enough blank spaces, right, in terms of no unlocks. I am just that confident this year is going to wind up being 12 characters, 1 a month on average, and so maybe there is 2 characters in September that maybe fills up a slot in, say, June. Who knows? Anyway, I'm still rambling. I'm going to go now. Adios.